Hello, everybody. I decided to tackle a difficult subject for me today. So if I fumble a little bit through it, please be patient. I'm going to talk about lockdowns because so many people are going through lockdowns right now. The first time I heard that word, I was in jail in maximum security for a crime I had not committed, false charges. That happens a lot nowadays, apparently. So the first time I heard the word lockdown, it was in a front room. They didn't have enough cells for everybody, so we were about, I don't know, a dozen, 2 dozen girls on a cot side by side in front of a big room. And I was dragged there by guards, and I was told if you need to make a telephone call, the telephone is right there on the corner. So everybody was lying down on their cot, and I decided, well, I need to call somebody and let them know what's happening to me. And I got up, and everybody kind of hushed me and said, lie down. And I turned to one of the neighboring girls there and said, what's going on? Said, well, it's nap time right now. And if you get up and do something you're not allowed, it's out of the rule, which we were never told what the rules were. You learn it as other inmates tells you, because if somebody breaks a rule, everybody's put on lockdown, which means they would be in their cells, not allowed to get out of their cells, or if they were in the front cot, they were not allowed to get up. Everybody had to stay down on their cot. So first time I heard that word lockdown. The second time, well, I've been on a very special diet since I was 15 when I had cancer. I have heart problems too, depending what I eat. And let me tell you, jail food is not organic. It's not the best. And, in some way I understand they have $1.50 per person to give us, I believe it was 1,200 calories. So every meal you have four slice of white bread, and then you have some kind of pasta or rice, and something that kind of looks like dog food. You don't really know what it is, but I couldn't eat any of it because even one spoon of it, and I had severe stomach pain or diarrhea or vomiting. So I lived for 14 weeks on rancid sunflowers and oranges. In the morning, we would get an orange with breakfast. And the inmates, my cellmates, were wonderful because they knew I just didn't belong there. I was the only one who had never gone to jail, whose family had never gone to jails. Most of them had just grown up in families that just roll in and out of jail. For instance, my first cellmate, her father and uncle were in prison for robbing a train. Her mother put her out in the street when she was 11 years old with drugs and for prostitution. She had three children from three different fathers who were all spending time in prison. And about every one of these girls had the same story. They had never met anybody who hadn't gone from jail to jail and didn't live with a family who was going to jail to prison. So they were nice with me and they protected me from the guard. I said I was in maximum security with murderers and drug dealers, and they were much nicer than the guards. So lockdown again because of oranges. My cellmates realized I wasn't eating. I was giving them my plate of food because I couldn't eat it. So they were giving me oranges. And if a guard found out that they were sneaking oranges to me, they were put on lockdown. They had to stay in their cell for 24 to 48 hours. So that's the second time I remember being talked about lockdowns. Third time is I was supposed to go to court. I was sitting on a bench. Two guards came and told me it's time to go, and my heart went into fibrillation. Now, when your heart goes into fibrillation, there is no blood going in your legs, in your arms. You just cannot stand up. And they got furious with me. I was dizzy. I mean, I think you could see my chest was just pumping. And I asked for a doctor. They did not want to let me see a doctor. They took me by my underarms, dragged me through two of the big rooms, and threw me on a mat. And I was on lockdown for 3 days. I wasn't allowed to get off the mat. They were not allowing any of the nurses or doctors to see me. I was a drama queen, and I needed to get off my drama queen show. And then the fourth time, somebody tried to slice their throat somewhere in the building. So everybody was put on lockdown for 7 days while they were searching every bits and pieces of our cell to see if we had any razor blades or anything hidden so that it would not reproduce. So that was about lockdown. So what else did I want to talk about? Well, it was a little difficult. I think it's easier to be in jail if you know you have done something wrong. You kind of expect to be punished. It's in your psyche. But I had not done anything wrong. Let me take a drink. So I had gone through a divorce, and amazingly, my neighbor told me that, oh, you're going to lose everything. You're a woman, you have 2 doctorates, you have an accent, you're going to lose everything. I laughed at them. It was a 1998 when I filed for divorce. And I laughed and said, this is the 20th century. That doesn't happen anymore. Well, it did happen. Not only did I lose everything, I also lost my liberty because family court, I learned later on, is a $5 billion business per year. And about 58,000 children a year I put with the abusive parent. So the protective parent will keep fighting, and that brings money to the judges, to attorneys, to the whole cottage industry of evaluators, child attorneys, psychologists, psychotherapists, the whole business going on. Anyway, my children were forced to live with their father, who was a pedophile and abuser and didn't feed them properly. So they ran away twice. When the second time they ran away, they were in California. I was in Nevada with my 2 oldest children, and they were teenagers. They found out a way to run away and came, visited my oldest daughter, who took them to an attorney. We were waiting to go to court to get a protective order. That didn't happen. April 17th, the US Marshals surrounded our house and arrested my oldest daughter and me. Now, she was on her way of going to a national competition that kind of ruined her life. She spent 4 days in jail and then had a choice, paying her father's attorney fees or spending 2 months in jail. And I spent 6 months in maximum security with no attorney, which I later learned that only people that were on death row had no attorney there. So a lot of things were illegally done. I was accused of having kidnapped my children, although I was 500 miles away. They ran away. They were teenagers, they had a car. And anyway, there's a lot of details I don't need to go into. But it was difficult for me because I was kind of a naive little girl coming out of Switzerland. My parents were a wonderful couple, never heard them arguing. Neither my grandparents. My childhood heroes were Heidi and Pollyanna, so I tried to turn everything for good. Even in an abusive marriage, I always tried to see the good in it, which didn't help. But anyway, so it was difficult for me to be in that environment. And I thought, maybe God placed me there to help these girls, but these girls didn't want to be helped. They were helping each other to find ways to not be caught the next time. But one day, one of the gang member came to talk to me and said, do you realize you are the alpha female in here? And there was about 50 girls. And I was kind of surprised because I didn't think I did much. I learned later on that it's not about what you do. It's who you are. Just being sometimes is enough. I was talking with these girls. They got to learn to know me a little bit, that there is a different side of life. Hopefully I helped some, but who knows? So what else did I want to say about it? Oh, how did I survive all this lockdown and spending so much time in jail? The problem with jail is you don't really sleep that well because there's always bright lights. There's always noise. It's like sleeping in an airport where you constantly have the loudspeaker going on. You have people cleaning the main room. You have chairs clanging around. And so it's very noisy all the time. So you kind of not really sleep. In between sleep and being waken up. And so initially, I wrote a lot of letters to different governments. I'm from Switzerland. I still have my Swiss passport. I'm a Swiss citizen. So I wrote to several of the president who change every year, they refuse to do anything, saying, Switzerland can do anything against America. I wrote to many, the ACLU, the Amnesty International, and every day I would write a letter to somebody that hopefully would do something. Never found anybody who did. But that kept me occupied. I got a deck of cards. My children were sending me things to what is called a commissary. So I got a deck of cards. I would play solitaire every day until I won so many games. Then I would read one book. And I was thinking, heard in prison you can get educated. So I wanted to learn Italian. It doesn't happen in jail. You could not even have a Bible. I had the choice between criminal books, romance, horror story, and science fiction. I don't like horror, don't like science fiction. So for a while I read criminal books, and then for a while romance, which is kind of silly in jail. So alternative, just to do something. I got so weak I could not even exercise. And I wrote a letter. I wrote a letter a day, and I wrote in my journal. People to whom I wrote letters, my family, my friends, sent me the letters back. So I kept all that. I eventually wrote a book just to exercise what had happened to me. But what gifts did I get from that? I learned to trust me. That was a big thing for me because I always thought, if I get very rich, if this or that happen, I might be like the others. I might just lie. And I never lied. Even, they asked me to lie about certain thing, and I never did. I could not. I would not do something that went against my conscience. And then I learned to just be who you are. And I had learned you live in the moment, and you are in the now. That is good for a lot of reasons, but when you are on lockdown or in very difficult situation, I think it's better to look forward. I had heard the story of Gerald Coffey, who was, I believe, was a captain in the military, and he was prisoner of war for 7 years, and he kept reliving his game of golf and seeing forward, thinking there is a higher purpose to that. So that's what I did a lot. I had learned a lot of techniques I learned the tapping techniques, I learned imagery, and what happened during that time, which was very tough, is what techniques, what strategies that I learned work during tough times. That allowed me to get rid of some of the things I had learned and to really focus on the strategies and the techniques that work. So hopefully, nowadays we living in lockdown, we having people fight against each other, and the anxiety and the depression and suicide rates, they all going up and up and up. And I never took any antidepressant or anxiolytic because I had techniques to work on and also allow myself to look towards a better future. So hopefully, if you have some problem you want to talk about it, you can go on my website, and I have a link which I'll put down where you can chat with me for 20, 30 minutes, and maybe I can help you find a way out of the anxiety and that lockdown pattern where we are in right now. And I prepared a little visual. So let me get to it, and I'll be right back. When life gets rough and tumbles you around, the right guide with the right navigation tools can be a lifesaver. Imagine your life with potentially less pain and more gain, less sickness, more fitness, less chaos, more clarity, less trauma, more triumph, less fear, more faith. It took me 45 years of training and experience to develop the Dr. G navigation system for a fulfilling and meaningful life on planet Earth. So if you're interested and think I could help you and guide you, again, I offer a 20-30 minute conversation with no obligation. Just click on the link below and set up a time to speak with me. And let's see if I can help you out of your predicament. Whether you want me to be your mentor or not, I will do my best to help you. So hope to hear from you soon. Have a great day and don't despair. Things will change and you'll get better.